Hey, wow, it's been a bit. I said last time that the next video would depend on how my move went, and like, to be honest, I feel like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. I got very sick a week before the move, then I moved, and then I didn't have a desk or internet for about a week, and then I got sick again for another week. Obviously, it's been, over a month now, and basically, to be honest with you, I haven't been playing much Guild Wars 2 lately. Now, there's a few reasons for that, and I thought we'd just talk about it. Don't worry, this is not a doom post, it's just generally how I feel about the game at this time. Basically, let's talk about the state of the game, and why I might not be playing it as much as I'd like to. First off, I just want to say, I think Guild Wars 2 is maybe in the best spot it's been in a long time. We're hot off the heels of a really solid expansion with well-designed, instanced PvE content, and we're getting the challenge modes of those fights at a pretty consistent rate. There's a lot of cool post-story, side questy stuff. I've done a couple of those now, and we also have the new Aurene Legendary weapons as our long-term progression. Overall, I mean, End of Dragons has been a pretty great package. But first of all, I want to talk about strikes. They're basically just one boss encounters, similar to Final Fantasy XIV Trials, that sort of thing. Now, there was a period of time where I was basically doing the daily strike every day, trying to save profit shards for an ascended weapon, and also enjoying the kind of mini lottery for the legendary precursors. There was a period of time where I was really enjoying progressing through the Harvest Temple strike for the ascended trinkets that are locked behind Harvest Temple completions. Those are the only ascended trinkets in the game with the new Ritualist stats, which I wanted for quite a few of my characters. Now, the strikes have been getting these challenge mode strikes, which are essentially the hard mode versions. I've only attempted, but not finished, the Aetherblade challenge mode, the first one. I've watched a few bits of gameplay of the other challenge modes that they've released, and they're excellent as well. It's been really alleviating to see the hardcore community get some proper meat. There's been a lack of truly difficult Guild Wars 2 content for quite some time, and it seems like that itch is scratched now. I remember being really hyped for each one. I was like, hell yes, new content. But then I saw the rewards, and it just deflated my excitement. Admittedly, I'm a bit more of a rewards-focused player. I can't help it, it's why I play MMOs. Of course, I don't expect Guild Wars 2 to have power drops from content like this in the same way that other MMOs do. But I was expecting some new weapon looks or fashion pieces, Just exclusive, unique, untradeable rewards from these challenge modes. Whether they're semi-rare drops, which I think the game needs more of, or bought with shards but locked behind completions like the trinkets are, I don't know. I know not everyone cares about fashion, but when I think about endlessly replayable content, I've seen in other MMOs that if there's items that just look cool, people will farm the hell out of that content to get it. It's like, it's prestige, There's the new titles you can get from the Strikes CMs, but the titles only mean something to the people who know where they come from. I think you want to be able to walk past new players with your big shiny shield, and they whisper you with like, "Ooh, where'd you get that from?" And you say it's from this really hard content, and then they go on this whole journey through the game to gear up and eventually complete that content to get that sick shield that you were wearing. That's what's missing at the moment. They did add one new skin per Strike CM, but this just doesn't cut it. I am not a fan of any of these skins. They're pretty average looking. They're not super thematic to the strikes that they come from, other than the rifle from the Kaineng strike. And they're only for one weapon, so if you don't use those weapons, then tough luck. In my mind, all ArenaNet really needed to do was recolor and add some spice to the current strike weapon set. Add some little extra VFX on them, make one look like a Jade one, make one look like a shadowy one, and make them semi-rare exclusive drops from the challenge modes. Done. That's it. I'd be playing the hell out of the content if they had something like that in the game. Now, the other reason I sort of stopped doing strikes was because my focus shifted towards doing my Aurene Legendary weapon. I was really excited for this, and I think it's an excellent long-term goal for players. They're much more attainable than previous legendaries. It's the obvious next step. It's what ArenaNet wants you to do after you've done End of Dragons. The problem is that these legendaries require a lot of gold and a lot of ass. You will need 100 of these bad boys. You will not be getting either of these things from strikes. You'll get a lot more gold from fractals or meta events or crafting. You'll get antique summoning stones from this weekly vendor for basically free, and then one per day from the Dragon's End meta event. So naturally, I started doing all these things instead of strikes. I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but, it's a shame because I really enjoyed doing strikes. They're very well-designed content, but I had to stop doing them because it'd take away from my time working on the Legendary. Had there been some sort of rotating daily challenge mode that dropped an extra antique summoning stone or dropped like 10 gold, that would have been a great alternative pathway that encouraged fun daily play through group content. But as is, for like a few weeks straight, I basically just logged in to pick up my free antique summoning stones, a couple daily crafts for some gold, and maybe I'd squeeze in a daily Dragon's End meta while watching Netflix or something. This is fine, this is what ArenaNet wants. They want to funnel people into the open world to do these big group-wide events, that sort of thing. But as soon as I finished my Aurene Legendary, which is very sexy, by the way, I kind of just stopped playing. I had hoped that the new unlockable Zaitan appearances would keep me going, but as soon as I saw the 10,000 research note requirement, I was like, nope, and I didn't even start. You also need more gold to unlock these Zaitan appearances, which just means more open world farming. Like, maybe this is a hot take, but I think if the challenge mode strikes were an option to progress all of this stuff, like if they dropped a big chunk of the scales needed for the Zaitan appearances, or dropping antique summoning stones, etc., I would have been all for it. Basically, I just think if ArenaNet are banking on these legendaries and legendary variants being the long-term PvE goal, we should just be able to take advantage of strikes and strike challenge modes in some way. And it's a shame they haven't really done that so far. But on a more positive note, the elite specs. I think they've really nailed these. Even 4 months on, I'm having a lot of fun with them. Content creator Nike did a video talking about how we're kind of in the golden age of Guild Wars 2 in terms of roles and class balance. And I totally agree. I went and unlocked basically all the elite specs now, aside from Untamed, and I think they're all a lot of fun. So much so that it's kind of hard to pick a main right now. No doubt some of the new specs could do with some balancing and gameplay tweaks, but luckily we've got a huge class balance patch coming up at the end of this month that should address all this stuff. Now, I've been really enjoying playing Power Vindicator, hence working towards the new Legendary Greatsword. I've also had a lot of fun on Catalyst as my healer support, using the Ice Bow to build up energy, to slap down quickness, and then using my staff for like triple healing spring resurrections. That's all been really good fun and a nice change of pace from my heal brand. We're in a pretty good spot in terms of balancing, though like what I've seen from the challenge mode strikes makes me think that ranged DPS is a little overtuned at the moment. I have to give a shout out to Hardstuck's recent accessibility contest, which was a competition to create the most efficient, low-intensity builds for the highest payoff. Now, this was really enlightening to watch and basically highlighted that you don't need to memorize a 20-step rotation to provide good DPS. And I think that's going to have a huge positive impact on getting more players to step into instance PvE content for the first time. On the PvP side, I can't comment much because I don't play a lot of it. Biggest pain point I've heard is that will benders are pretty oppressive at the moment, so hopefully that gets addressed in the balance patch. World versus world enjoyers seem to have a little bit to look forward to in the future, with alliances getting more rounds of beta testing. ArenaNet have said that they'll be looking to address world versus world rewards as well after all this is done. Fishing has been great. I was heavily into fishing for a while just to get all the chunks of ambergris for my legendary weapon. I love how that's integrated into the legendary crafting journey. I love that it's an easy way for people who just enjoy fishing to make gold. It's actually pretty good gold per hour. I feel like whenever I'm out fishing, I just kind of remark on how well the implementation is. It's a lot of fun to be able to just drive around on your own personal boat and fish wherever you want. You always come across other players. There's heaps of incentive to group up with other people for the extra fishing power buff. I think the implementation is just excellent, and I hope that they integrate other rewards into fishing as well. They also recently did a round of dungeon changes, like old school vanilla dungeons, which was very surprising to me. This content hasn't been touched in ages, and they finally did something. They have converted all the different dungeon currencies into a singular dungeon currency. This is an excellent change, I think. A lot of people are worried that this means that people will just farm the easiest dungeons. And yes, I think that's the case, but I didn't see a lot of people running the harder dungeons anyway. The only reason I felt like people were doing them were for the superior runes. But sometimes this would be a pain in the ass. Like if I want more superior runes of the monk, I'd have to farm Ascalonian catacombs. And there wasn't always people running that specific dungeon. I'd see people in other dungeons, but maybe not that specific one. And so now this gives me the option to play any dungeon and I'll be able to earn currency to buy those runes. But very smartly, ArenaNet have still locked all the rewards for each of those dungeons behind story mode or exploration mode completions. Much the same way that you need to complete the Harvest Temple strike to get those ascended trinkets. I think this is very smart, and like, I actually think Guild Wars 2 needs more gates like this. Gating isn't necessarily bad. I think it allows for a very clear indication of where you are and where you need to be. It says you need to complete this thing, and now suddenly you have a goal. I think this is awesome, and I'd love to see this in more parts of the game. Like if there was a raid vendor that was selling all the raid armor and weapons and that sort of thing, and new players can hover over that gear and see that you need to complete these specific raid wings to unlock them. Will this revive dungeons? Probably not, but I think it really reduces the currency clutter that we have in the game, and it makes all this a little less overwhelming for new players. I think ultimately though, a big reason why I'm playing other games is that like there's not really any new content coming out at the moment for Guild Wars 2. The returning Living World Season 1 stuff is neat. I've been playing through it slowly, but it definitely shows its age, and it won't come with any repeatable content until the finale, which will drop a new strike. It's not a content drought, it's just that right now, ArenaNet seem to be mostly focused on the new player experience. They're re-adding removed content, addressing the leveling experience, and they've built a solid framework for future instance PvE content. They're working on the foundations, which is excellent for new players. But a seasoned player like myself may struggle to find something to latch onto at the moment. That's okay though. I mean, that's just how Guild Wars 2 is designed. It's not supposed to be an endless grind. You're free to go and take breaks, play something else, and come back when there's new content that interests you. And I mean, that's exactly what I've been doing these past few weeks. I finally finished God of War the other day, really enjoyed it, and now I'm prepared for the sequel. I've revisited the Assassin's Creed franchise for the first time since Unity. I'm currently playing through Origins, and I'm honestly having a blast, and it's nice to be enjoying one of my favorite franchises again. I've also been playing a hell of a lot of Destiny 2 with the new season of The Haunted, and I've been having a fun time there. And I have not been playing Diablo Immortal. Dodged a bullet with that one. I'm really looking forward to the release of the Harvest Temple Challenge mode. It was recently delayed for the extra bug fixes and further tuning, which was a good move, because I think it has the potential to be like the most challenging encounter in Guild Wars 2 history. I really, really hope that they nail the rewards for it though, because I think players like me are just looking for a bit of extra incentive. I'm also keen for the class balance patch. Really interested to see what changes we get. I feel like this will be a pretty transformative update. The Aurene Legendary variant, I'm kind of meh on. I'm not a huge fan of Zaitan, but Jormag, on the other hand, yes, my queen, I am at your service. I will sacrifice my left lung for the research notes if I must. I've got a lot of friends who are new to Guild Wars 2, having a blast trying out the game. As I said, I think this is definitely just an excellent time to be getting into the game if you're a new or returning player. There's a lot here. For now though, I think I will be taking it a little easy. I've finally settled into my new apartment. Gonna probably work on some more beginner guides. I've got that Ascended Gearing guide lined up. And I might log in for the Dragon Bash festival going on right now. I've never actually done Dragon Bash. I have no idea what's involved, but some of the rewards look pretty cool. I mean, there's a whole new weapon set, isn't there? There's like an entire new weapon set they just added to Dragon Bash. Why is there not a new weapon set for the Strike Challenge modes? Please, ArenaNet. If you've got any questions or topics you'd like me to talk about in a video, feel free to drop it in the comments. This was just sort of like a random ramblings, how I feel about the game at the moment update video. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Subscribe for more Guild Wars 2 stuff, and as always, I'll catch you later. Also, I got this sick artwork done. How fucking cool is this? Go follow Zlidi Art on Twitter.